Okay, if you look between the header tube there, see the front plate's on. This little pivot point is on. And I got this just held there. Just making sure that's where I want it. Because that's where the bolt would have been. And that is correct. So basically what we have to do now, before I can do anything else, is I have to extend this bracket to that bolt hole. And make sure it's rigid. Even though it's pulled on in this direction. Looks like an eighth to me. So if we go with an eighth, we'll be safe. Let me go see if I can find a piece of an eighth of an inch metal. Take some measurements before I go. Okay guys, I just cut a piece off. Tiny little scrap piece that I have. I saved all my little scraps. Okay, this is 3/16 instead of 1/8 inch. That's all I had. It's better than the quarter I had, so it's a compromise. It is 1 inch wide. Okay. I put a chamfer on it already, so about 1.5 long. Should be more than enough. Should be able to drill a hole right about there and butt it up against there. So we could be off 1/4 of an inch either way. It's not really going to matter because we're setting up the geometry ourselves. But let's go take a measurement and let's drill a 7/16 hole through this. Bolt it up there and do some welding. All around. I just wanted to tack it in 2 spots. That's basically what it's going to be. You're not going to see this thing. This thing's going to be behind the engine, but I did round it over just a little bit. I did chamfer this 3/16 piece on both sides. Now I'm going to take it off. I'm going to put a couple spots on the other side, then I'll weld each side, just to keep it flat to the head as possible. Okay, this thing ain't going nowhere. When it's all said and done, it'll be more than strong enough. It'll be pulling in that direction. So, but if more is required, we'll do it. So, would have been nice to have bolted in there, but we'll see. Once we got a reference point, we might not. Don't know. There you go. The back side, I ground it, and I put a V-slot, and I grounded. I welded it, I grounded smooth. This, I'm going to ground it flush to the front and left the bridge over onto the other piece. So, we rounded it off on the bottom, just a little bit. Good enough, it's on the back of the engine. So, thing ain't going nowhere. Like I said, this has to come back off and be cleaned and painted. But we're going to go get this bracket here so I can put this where it has to be. And then we'll play with the top. Like I said, this is something I have to do outside the car. This would be a living hell inside the car. Not that you can't do it, you can do it. But why would you want it when you could just sit here on a stool and do it? So, like I said, more than strong enough. Okay, goes something like this. I don't have the bushing in this arm. Okay, it goes like this, the bell cranks up, goes like this. Now I'll show you what we're going to have to modify. I still have at least a 1/4 of an inch length adjustment on this. But basically it slips in there. And when that nails, this pretty much has to be nailed. So if you want to fine tune it from there, but that's pretty much how the adjustment works. That's all a lot of guys do it. But this touches on the way back. It's like just laying right above it. So what we're going to do is we're going to straighten out this bend a little bit. And then I'm going to just tweak this just slightly. And put it back on so this will lay. It'll make the rod even longer. But I still have at least a 1/4 of an inch adjustment in there. So I'm not going to have to lengthen everything. So this must be universal for a 2 and a 4 barrel. Okay, this is complete minus the bushing, obviously the clip, and some final painting. So this is what we came up with. Comes around, goes to that low pivot point, comes up to the bracket. We finished off. I tweaked this just a little bit. If you look, I took a little bit at an angle. There's no way near the intake manifold. You know, the camera angle makes it look probably good that much, and it doesn't hit no matter what. This spring actually keeps it pulled back, even though it's hooked to itself. There is a mechanical advantage in this triangulation. It just keeps this pulled back to there. Keeps it from rattling and probably keeps this thing from popping out of all different sorts of gears as the throttle pressure changes. So when you nail it, that goes nailed. Simple. There is forward movement still left in it, see? So when I take this thing off, choke. And that's it. Like I said, you can fine tune it, tweak it a little bit as you do it.